Hello, everyone. Welcome to our reading comprehension video discussion. Today, we will dissect a thought provoking text to enhance our reading comprehension skills. So, we have four questions. So, the direction for question 1 to 4 is that the passage below is accompanied by a set of questions. Choose the best answer to each questions. I hope you have read this text. So, what does the text actually talk? So, this text covers with the two paragraphs. The first paragraph is highlighting about the situation. The first paragraph talks about a sad and terrible battlefield. It mentions how the moon and stars saw the aftermath of the battle. The moon saw upturned faces of people who had once been happy or babies at their mother's breast. It also talks about secrets whispered on the wind. The moon, the stars, and wind continue to watch over the battlefield for a long time, even after the battle was over. So, this is what something like a situation which has been pointed here. Now, what does the second paragraph of the passage point out here? So the second paragraph point out that how nature and life continued after a terrible battle, isn't it? The situation which is pointed in the first paragraph, the second paragraph point out about means how nature and life, nature and life continue continued after a terrible battle. Despite the tragedy, the natural world held itself. So it tries to give the examples of birds like larks and swallows so sang, clouds moved across the sky, and people went about their everyday task. Crops were grown, and the stream turned a watermill. Life continued peacefully in the town, which is clearly highlighting in the second paragraph. And even though there were reminders of the battle, like green patches in the fields, nature overcame the scars. Under those green patches, many soldiers and horses were buried, making the land fertile. These special crops were called what? That that is known as a battleships, isn't it? The passage shows how life and nature can recover and keep going even after terrible events, isn't it? Now, on the basis of that, we have a question given here. So, what is the question? Which of the following best illustrates the idea of the cyclical nature of life mentioned in the passage? Now, if I talk about the cyclical nature of life, what does it refer actually? Cyclical nature of life refers to the idea that life and nature continue their usual rhythms and patterns despite the horrors of the battle. It suggests that life and nature are resilient. What is it? Uh, Life and nature is resilient and endure, isn't it? Resilient, resilient, and endure, isn't it? So now we need to identify any of the options that indicates about life and nature, which is resilient and endure, can be considered as the cyclical nature of life, right? So let's look at the options. So there are four options. The first option points out the larks singing above the battlefield. Now, if I talk about the larks singing above the battlefield, uh, which would be called as a illustrating or describing the cyclical nature of life or indicating or signifying, isn't it? Um, then it would be your best illustrates the cyclical nature of life. Why? The lark singing above the battlefield represent what? Uh, Represent the continuity of nature and life, isn't it? So even after the battlefield or even after the terrible event, the birds continue their song, uh, which is point out here, indicating that life continues even in the face of tragedy. While the battleships, which is a point out here, um, they are related to the, means you can talk about the war, battlefield. They do not directly illustrate the cyclical nature of life, isn't it? So, on the basis of that, if we look into the option two, which is pointed, the ships are harvested from the battlefield. cannot be directly, you can say that, describe the cyclical nature of life. They're more associated with the result. You can say that they're more associated with the what? Consequences. Consequences, isn't it? Um, consequences of the battle, isn't it? Not the continuity of the life. Continuity of life. Uh, So therefore, we could consider option two cannot be the answer to it. So it will be eliminated. Option three, the winds blowing across the battle scene. Now you can see that the options are pointing lark, sheep's, winds, isn't it? So option three, which is also indicating the winds blowing. Now wind symbolizes what? That represent change. So winds representing what? That called as a change. So, and do not directly describe the cyclical nature of life. So they are more related to passes of time. What is it? It is indicating to passes of time. So movement, or that called as a um, they are actually more related to passage of time, and also weather. You can talk about weather. Now, if I go to the last option, option four, so which is saying the shadows of the flying clouds. Now, this is exactly like option three. The shadows of clouds are mentioned in the passage, but they do not directly even describe the cyclical nature of life. They are a, you can talk about natural fact, natural phenomenon, but not a representation of life's continuity. So, therefore, option four will be eliminated. So, if I talk about that, the first option, the lark singing above the battlefield, which will be the most apt here because it indicates life and nature continue their regular patterns and routines, even uh, even in the midst of terrible events like a battle. It shows that life and nature are strong and can endure. So therefore, option one is the best or most apt, which illustrate the idea of cyclical nature of life. Option two, at the same time, option two, three, and four don't directly show the cyclical nature of life. So it is more about what happens after the battle, not the ongoing nature of life. The winds represent change, and option four, shadows of cloud, is a natural phenomenon, right? So, um, but doesn't directly illustrate the idea of life's continuity. I hope you understood the first question. Let's move to the second one.